Hello, my name is Łukasz Woźniak. I'm the designer of the game called Titans. It's a 1 to 4 player territory control game. It's a game that is a historical fantasy. It's a competitive game, but it has a solo mode, and it is right now on Kickstarter. It is funded, and if we get more support, we can get more stretch goals unlocked. Go ahead and go there to see the contents and all of the details as well. And today I want to talk to you about the asymmetrical nature of Titans. We've talked about the gameplay, we have shown you the full gameplay, etc. Today we're just gonna focus shortly on the differences between the 4 nations we have in the box. There is also a 5th one available as an add-on on the campaign. We have had 4 descriptive nation profiles where we have shown the thematic introduction for each of the 4 nations. It is historical with the legendary, extraordinary elements, with the spirit of the nation, empowering each of them to move to battle. Also, we have talked a little bit about their starting nation abilities and the Titan abilities, and talked a little bit about the nation cards. So today, I just want to share my thoughts on the different differences between those nations, as well as underline some more different nation cards and different strategies that player may take while playing Titans. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to post them down below. So it's an asymmetrical game, but the goal of the game for each player is the same. It's to expand your territory, win battles, and fulfill secret objectives. So with that in mind, we get into the game. We have our positioning on the map. It's historically dependent. We get a capital, it's a miniature, and of course some units as well as the Titan. And then we have some small differences on our nation boards, and we choose one nation card, which also moves us into a different direction than other players. So each time we're gonna open up the game in some different, unique way. Each nation has 10 cards. All of them are different. They have different costs, different abilities, and create different powerful combinations. So let's start with Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the red player army, which visually seems like they're kind of in the middle of it. And if you add the 5th player, which will come from this side, that will escalate, the feeling will escalate even more. Of course, the map is made in a way that it is all balanced, but it sometimes forces some tactical decisions on the player. And of course, it depends on the style of play by other players as well. Will the northern kingdom of Sweden decide to expand their domain through the Baltic Sea here, or will they move up north to try to attack Tsardom of Russia, and etc, etc. So all of those things I'm sharing with you are very dependent on the gameplay we have, the situation, on the opponents, and decisions, choices that you take and other players around the table take. So the fact that you're in the middle may sometimes result in fact that if you decide to expand that way, you may be neighboring all opponents. That may be risky. You may try to avoid that and maybe focus on 1 or 2 battle fronts. If you want to fight all of them at the same time, it's not a good idea to poke at every player, forcing them kind of to attack you back. But you can always expand and await attack from other players. There is a card for the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth that is a very strong one. If you are defending with a smaller army, you may use it to get a Titan die. So if I have it, even though it may feel that I'm a bit surrounded geographically, which is not the case, but even if there's the case that I expand too broadly, I may keep that card with me to kind of discourage players from attacking me, or maybe think twice if they want to attack some of my weaker positions, weaker regions. So that's one of the nicer cards that you may purchase and build your strategy upon that. Also, you may decide to upgrade already strong Polish cavalry, which gives you bonus if you have 2 at one region. You may upgrade it adding strength or adding fame, maybe we should call it, where if you purchase this card, each time you win a battle and your cavalry was in it, you gain additional victory point. So that could be a nice offensive strategy where you see you're gonna battle a lot, but you keep your cavalry somewhere around the hot spots, and if you win with even more bonus points. Adding to that a more offensive strategy, which is kind of in tune with the Titans ability, you may purchase a card that will give you 2 strength if you attack and you have an artillery in your army. This card may be very strong if you attack a weaker point, or if you just wanna, without adding any extra die, just tip it and get 2 more strength in battle. Similar, also strong one, a card for infantry that would give you, if your infantry is fighting a cavalry, it would give you an artillery die. So it's also tricky because this card is kind of excludes itself with this one, where there's only 1 artillery die. So if I want to use this one, that means I don't have an artillery in my unit, in my army, and that's why the die is available for me. If I have an artillery, then I will keep this one for a different battle, where I will just get this and roll it and add more strength to my outcome. So that would be Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. I like all of the 4 nations a lot. Some people would say that this one is the strongest. I think they're well balanced, and some people are a little bit afraid of what the geographical positioning, but definitely the Titan, the hand limit, and the combos you can create are strong with this one. Secondly, we may look at the yellow Tsardom of Russia on the other end, with the capital in Moscow. They have a smaller hand limit, they have different Titan ability, obviously, more universal, you will use their nation starting ability more often. What happens with Tsardom of Russia is they are positioned in a way where regions around them are bigger than the ones here, for example. It means that visually, if they expand, it looks like they are really expanding. Because of that, they may be vulnerable to attack more quickly. Just a small expansion here and they are neighbors with the Ottoman Empire. Small expansion up north and they are neighboring with the Kingdom of Sweden. So, and even though it may seem like some places are closer to each other than others, actually the map is balanced, and as we were testing, we saw that it all depended on the decisions that players made, either with their strategy in mind, with their tactical options that they had, or just they decided to attack one player over the other. So yellow player, Tsardom of Russia, what they have is their ability, if they spread out their infantry well, they could use it often and it will help them within each battle. Also, what they could do is they could use a card that helps them if they have a smaller army. And this one, before the battle, allows them to discard any support card and move any unit into that region. So even though they may be spread across the big portion of land, combining their base ability with that card may allow them to maneuver their Titan or artillery units between different places, helping them get more strength in battle. Another cool, interesting card they have is a one that gives them a Titan die if they have only only infantry units in their army. So if you have this singular infantry unit and he attacks, he's just one, he will take one infantry die as regular unit. Because of the nation starting ability, he will take a second one, and then if I tip this card, it's once per round use. I will also get a Titan die. So one time each round I will be able to either in attack or as a defender use this combo, and with just one miniature roll 3 dice and get big result. Also, if I have some neighboring units of my own and I have movement support cards in my hand, I may be able to use all of those abilities, and after I have used them and I have fulfilled the requirement just having infantry, I may add unit to that battle, and if that was a Titan, roll another Titan die, use the Titan ability, and maybe play some other bonus cards from my hand. Strong card. If my opponent, if my yellow opponent has it, I'm very wary of the single infantry unit armies that they have. Obviously, they have cards to increase the strength of their cavalry. This one is interesting. If they have a cavalry, they roll another cavalry die. Since there are 2, right, it only applies if they just have 1 cavalry, and it one time acts as if there were 2 of them. A little bit similar to the, passive, always available starting ability. Different card would be very strong card for artillery against infantry, adding 2 strength to their power. Also one time use only. So here, from my closest to where I am at right now, is the Green Ottoman Empire. And the Green Ottoman Empire is most likely to get involved with his 2 neighbors on the left and on the right, which also fits the theme historically. He would either get involved in wars with red Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth or yellow Tsardom of Russia. Obviously, it is possible that he will meet with the northern kingdom of Sweden, or most likely fight with all of them at some point of time in the game. But he has a few things going for him as well. First, let's take a look at this geographically. If he makes a couple of right moves and decides to be more passive than aggressive, more defensive, he may draw a strong defense line on just 2 or 3 regions if he is able to expand quickly without without drawing in any conflicts from his opponents. So keeping guard of those 2 or maybe 3 key regions, depending on the situation on the map, he may be able to create a strong defense barrier. Of course, it's not a winning strategy. No one will win just standing there. You have to move forward, you have to expand, you have to attack. But in few situations in the game, it could be helpful for you if you need a breather, maybe a turn or maybe 2 turns, where you want to add some units, regroup, maybe move someone from the back regions to reinforce yourself before the next attack. That may be helpful. Some players play that way, others choose on one side and move with full force there. That is also possible. What is interesting is that the ability of the Titan works for them really well in defense. So, as everybody, they have to expand. But if they position the Titan in a key region, right, the opponent will eventually probably gonna attack that region anyway. And if you attack my Titan, you have to play your turn first, and I may be ready for what you have prepared. Some of the more interesting cards that they would have. This one it's a strong one. It has a 3 cost, which is the highest one. If they have 2 cavalry units on one region in one army, and it doesn't really matter what their opponents have. If they have their 2 trained cavalry units in one army, once per round they may use it to get another Titan die. So it makes a strong army even stronger. It's an expensive card, and it's not so easy to use. But if you keep an army with 2 cavalrymen, once in every round, you will be able to create a big punch, a strong force in battle. Second card that is also quite strong is also once per round. As you may see, the stronger cards may be used 1 time per round. The not so strong ones will work in every battle, so you kind of have to decide how to combine those 2 types of cards as you build your engine. The second one is interesting because it has no requirements. You just have to discard 2 cards from your hand and you will get a Titan die. It works exactly like this support card, where if you have 2 of these and you meet both the requirements, you will get a Titan die. So from one perspective, if you always have a very well prepared hand of support cards, that card wouldn't be of great help to you. But it's a great backup plan if you have a hand of support cards and maybe you are not prepared. Maybe you are getting ready for a battle here and you've been attacked here by a force that doesn't match what you have prepared for. That way, this card, 2 cards, quite a big cost, but you get a Titan die regardless, and it may be very helpful. They also have a passive card, which will, card that will work in each battle, and it makes their infantrymen very strong. Their infantry units are enhanced every time they battle against an enemy infantry. They get additional infantry die. So let's say I move those 2 infantry here with a Titan here, I will get 2 and 1 more. It is strong, not because the infantry die is strong, it is the weakest die out there, but the situation where I have an infantry and you have infantry happens a lot. So that card could be quite useful. And the last army I want to talk to, I'm not going to expand on the 5th nation right now. The prototype for the 5th nation is not yet prepared in that nice looking version. Of course, it is well tested, and if it's not there yet, it will appear soon, the whole description of the nation on the Kickstarter campaign. So the 4th nation that appears in that box is the Kingdom of Sweden. So it may look geographically like it's kind of not their war. They are up there in the north, close to the Baltic Sea. Just we see their Stockholm capital out there, and it kind of feels like they shouldn't be involved, but they are, and they were. They would want to be involved. The Baltic Sea, for them, as well as for the Tsardom of Russia, as well as for the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, was a very important one. If everybody dreamed of making this sea their internal lake, they wanted to control all the regions around it, keeping all the shipment, all the transportation, all the military ships that could be built there, keep them to themselves. So it would be economically very prosperous for anybody to control that. That's why they would go in waves to the south and get involved in wars with their neighbors as well. Of course, they are trained, their infantry is trained, we wrote about that. They have a cool, strong, powerful starting ability. They also can, as all the nations, decide to get involved with either of their neighbors. They could also be more reluctant to get involved straight away with either Poland or Russia and expand into the middle of the map. So their positioning doesn't really force them into any one type of conflict. And also, as any other nation, they have a cool, unique deck of the nation cards that will allow them to adjust their strategy as they go. One of the cards we have already shown is a card that allows them to move their infantry quite often, and their infantry, if they are in pairs, they are actually very, very strong. They also have a different strong card that will give them 1 victory point if they won a battle with smaller or equal in size army. So that means that each time they win 2 against 2, 3 against 3, they get 1 victory point more than they would regularly do. That way, without expanding so much onto the map, they can easily get a lot of victory points just for choosing their battles correctly. A different interesting card, also historically connected with the artillery that the Swedes had, is the one that gives them a permanent +1 strength bonus whenever they fight against infantry. This one is interesting. It kind of forces their opponents, if the artillery of the blue player is somewhere close, it kind of forces me to try to maneuver them out of there, not to allow them to get that bonus, because that would make the artillery even stronger than it already is. 2 more cards I want to mention that we haven't talked about before. This one is also quite strong and useful if their cavalry is taking part in the battle. Before the battle, they draw 1 support card. That way, while entering the battle, they are supported even more. They get something extra, something that may be helpful here. And also they have a cool card that works kind of against their nation ability, but it doesn't have to. Their starting nation ability gives them additional strength if they have at least 2 infantry units. And this card gives them a Titan die if they have 1 unit, just 1 unit in the battle. And the opponent has to have cavalry. It's quite easy to prepare to start a battle where I would use that ability. And that in itself is a strong card. But if I am ready with a right movement, then I will be able to move another unit. And after I have already used that card, it doesn't go back. I could get my nation starting bonus ability. So those are the 4 different nations battling it out for the domination over the Central Europe, the historical armies with historically inspired abilities and cards, as well as some extraordinary stuff happening with the Titan, with the special abilities that they get. This is the way this game works. The main rules, the victory point conditions are equal, but the differences between the players from the get-go, as well as the ones that we decide on during the game, will make each time you sit down to Titans quite unique. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section and we will try to answer all of them to the best of our ability. Thank you for your time and thank you for your support. Go and check out the Kickstarter page. Bye bye.